Jazzcast Pros.
Welcome to the Healthy Illness Podcast. I am your host, Kelly Marie. This is a podcast helping you build healthier relationships while living with mental health conditions. I am a person navigating this world, living with mental health conditions, and I use my experience, my training, my education, my background, my journey to help you also live your best life, to live a front seat life, to be the light. Today's episode is a continuation of a conversation with Detra Trueheart. We are talking about movement. We are talking about being the catalyst for change in your own life, what it means to begin to make radical change and to make radical change in small steps. So by the end of this episode, you'll have some next steps for you to begin movement in your life, from reading to walking to however you want to begin or expand upon movement on your mental health journey.
Sometimes a lifestyle of movement is hindered by a lifestyle of being busy. And so where can we pull back from being so busy to create space for movement that allows our minds to be healthy as well as our bodies to be healthy? And so your mind may not be as healthy as you want it to be because it's too busy. And here's the other part. Movement needs rest too. If you're constantly moving like the Energizer Bunny, honey, that's an issue.
So what is busy versus movement?
I would say busy is from sun up to sundown. There's no time for you to move your body, right? And for me, I think there also has to be like activity. So I'll give you an example. The work that I did as an adjunct instructor, as a peer educator, I was standing, I was teaching, I was moving my body, right? I was not in back-to-back meetings, going from sitting at my desk from 9 to 5, going to meetings, sitting at meetings. And then from this meeting, I'm going to that meeting. And then from that meeting, I got to go to this board meeting. And then by the time I get home, I really only have time either to pick something up to eat. The lifestyle itself, which again, depending upon the work that you do, requires that. But if it doesn't require that to the point where there's no like movement, stairs. So like even if you can take stairs in your office space, like how are you moving your body, not just busy going from one space to another? Does that make sense? Because you can be like, well, my life is too busy. And it's like, well, then you don't want to be healthy. Like there's some give and take there. There's definitely some give and take there. There are specifically when we talk about high capacity people, a lot of times in the spaces that you're in, you have other people who can do the things that you don't necessarily have to do. And so you may not necessarily have to go to that meeting. You could send your second in command to the meeting. You could send your assistant to the meeting. You could send somebody else in the department. Now, if you're in a space where you're the person who they send, okay, well then let's get some walking in. Like how can you park further from the building and walk? How can you incorporate movement into those spaces? But I think busyness is literally like jumping from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And there's no opportunity, even like the work that I was doing with my kids, like what we prepared them for pageantry and leadership. So we have rehearsals and we're dancing and so there's movement involved in what we do, right? Running a family ministry building, 3 flights of stairs. I'm going up and down the stairs. I'm dancing. I'm singing with the kids. Like there's movement, right? And so when you're from sun up to sundown, there's no movement. You just busy. And then you wonder why I can't fit my pants. You got to start including some of those things. Now, I'm learning on the other side of the movement is also what we put in our bodies, right? And so I just recently had a massage. My massage therapist was saying that you got to start adding water to your regimen because some of the tightness, some of what you're feeling is simply because your body is dehydrated. And that's a different conversation. But again, if you're not slowing down to kind of deal with some of the smaller things, you're going to burn yourself out.
That's good. So because I want people to be able to reach you, to find you, and all the information will be in the show notes, but everybody is not going to stop listening and run to the show notes to get your info. Tell folks how to reach you, how to get in touch with you, where they can begin setting boundaries, and then talk a little bit about I Speak Life so people understand that from in your words, what I Speak Life is, who you are as a coach, as a mentor, as a preacher, as an author, as a presenter, as all the things.
So you all can find me at trueheartspeaks.com. That's TRUEHEARTSPEAKS, one word.com. You can also find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and I'm on TikTok as well. And I think LinkedIn and TikTok, you can find me under my name. And then YouTube, I think, is also under my name. And then Facebook and Instagram, you can find me under Trueheart Speaks. If you Google me and you can't find, you just look up Detra Trueheart, my website, and I think like Facebook or Instagram, I think automatically pop up. You can find me there. I host an event every year in December called I Speak Life Live. And I want to invite the ladies to come out if you have never been. It is an amazing experience. And the one thing that I love about I Speak Life Live, when we talk about movement and we talk about giving yourself time and space to even just kind of identify yourself in the gap, I Speak Life Live does that, right? And so this is the event for high capacity and busy women who pour out lots, right? You being busy, but you don't allow yourself to take time to be poured back into. And so sometimes you need a space created, right? Curated for you to literally sit yourself down to say, I know like I need to be moving. I just don't know what that looks like. And so in those spaces, and every woman comes with something different, but if that's your thing, I Speak Life gives you that opportunity to do that, right? Like to say, man, like I'm really not showing up in the best way that I know how to show up, or I know how to show up, but I'm not doing it. What's the fear? What's holding me back? Why am I not doing it? We talk about self-care planning, right? So we walk through like a self-care action plan. We do like think tank, what I call lots of fun things. And so it's December 6th, 7th, and 8th. It is in Niagara Falls, New York. I want to personally invite you. You can go to ispeakLifeLive.com, ispeakLifeLive.com to get more details about that. But I think as it relates to just me, I know that the spaces that I curate as a preacher, a teacher, a coach, a consultant, a strategist is to speak life, right? And to really encourage you to show up as your best and highest self, right? And I think a lot of times we get busy being all the things for all the people and we leave ourselves behind. And so I think this conversation around movement is such a perfect conversation because sometimes you're so busy tending to everyone else that you don't have time to consider what tending to yourself looks like. And so I really want to invite you to sit yourself down for about 5 or 10 minutes, put a timer on, turn the television off, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, and really think about how you can move your body in a simple way, right? Does that mean get up a little earlier in the morning? And so I'll say this really quickly. I read, and I've listened to it twice, a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And one of the things that he talks about around habits is called habit stacking. And habit stacking basically just means that sometimes in order for you to do a thing consistently, it's got to be connected to something else. So habit stacking for me means when I take my son to school, then I go to the mall to walk, as opposed to, oh man, like I can't figure out like when I'm going to walk. I automatically know when I drop him off, the highway is literally right there. I get on the highway, I go to the mall and I walk, right? For some of you, it is in order for me to move my body, after I get out of the shower, I put my workout clothes on because it makes it easier for me. Like I bring the workout clothes into the bathroom. And so for some of you, you're going to need to habit stack. In what ways? I knew once my day got started, it was extremely hard for me to do. And so I had to figure out, how can I do this? I did it at the beginning of the day. That may not work for you, right? But how can you habit stack, right? And so for me, I might need to find something to habit stack for work, for drinking water, because honey, me and water have a love-hate relationship. But in what ways can you move your body? In what ways can you habit stack to move your body, right? So whenever I have a meeting, I take the stairs. Whenever I have to go to a parking lot, I'm going to park the furthest away from the door so that I can get steps in. And so that may be easy for you to think about, how can I move my body so that at least it's simple until I can find a routine way to do it.
So listen, you was here for me because first of all, I went to Libby while you were talking and I didn't even get Atomic all the way, all the books with in it, the first thing that came up was Atomic Habits. So that is next on the listen. So do you recommend reading or listening to Atomic Habits?
Both. So I've listened to it twice. I have the book, but I just like listening to the stories that he shares around habits and habit stacking. And I'm sure James Clear does not know anything about snatching edges, but he totally, like, in a subliminal way, like, snatches your edges, because for him, it's about the small increments of change, and the small habits and the small behaviors lead to big changes. And too many times we want to do the big things, and when it becomes overwhelming, we don't do anything, which was where I was. So I started small. And so one of the things that I want to start implementing is jump roping and planking, because I know, like, there's some core things that I need to do. But literally, I'm congratulating myself just for showing up Monday through Friday. After I drop my son off to school, I walk, and I feel good about it. And I'm not focused on 10,000 steps. Like, some days it's 5,000, some days it's 8,000. When I'm traveling, it's only over that when I'm traveling, because I'll get back like, well, when did I do 11,000 steps? I'm like, oh, child, I was in the airport. But that's not the focus. And so I think we have to take the focus off of all of the semantics, keep it simple. What is it that you can do? What's the limit? If it's 30 minutes, set the timer, do it for 30 minutes and move on with your day. Like, you do not have to be out here doing all the extra. And so I think he helps you in that way. And so if y'all read it, if you listen to it, hit me up online and let me know what y'all think. But it's a really good book. I started reading it last year, and I listened to it twice. I'm probably going to listen to it again this year, because it's a book that you definitely, like, it reminds you, like, ooh, I forgot about that. I need to incorporate that. And so I don't do a lot of habit stacking, but that's like the one that I know is helpful, is that when I drop my son off to school, I go walk.
I love it. I might read that instead of, I'm listening to 1619 Project.
That's heavy.
It is. And so I think maybe I'll start with habit stack and then I'll leave, because the day job is so focused on health and race and death, I actually stay away from reading anything related to that because I know enough. And so, and I purposely put it up on the shelf because I cannot bring that awareness to everything and also function in a cool, calm, and collected way. Like, I like my benefits. I like being able to pay my rent. I like my vehicle. Like, I like showing up and I can't be and y'all all, it's not beneficial for my well-being. How I show up, it takes work for me to show up however you saw me. It takes work. So I don't like watching the news, reading the news.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I don't either.
I already know the depths of human depravity. Like, I don't need any more information about how horrible people can be to people. I need to be the light. And in order to be the light, the darkness is the darkness and it's going to be there. So I'm just going to shine.
Yeah, I think that you will like Atomic Habits. Like, I think you're going to listen to it and you're like, oh my gosh, how come I didn't think of that? Like, it's literally that simple where you be like, how come I didn't think of that? How come I ain't been doing that all this time? Man.
I love it.
Yeah. So, but I think, just self-awareness is the number one thing. Like, study yourself. You know what feels good to you and what doesn't feel good to you. Pay attention to that. Like, some of it is just the simplicity of being in tune with self. I won't get spiritual on y'all because I know everybody listening is not, Christian, but even for me, it's also being in tune with the Holy Spirit. Right. And so when I'm not in tune with myself, if I'm in tune with Holy Spirit also can guide me and say, pay attention to that. Like, no, don't do that. Now, you doggone it. You better not say that. So
for real. And in all the ways in which that can manifest. Did I ever tell you about the story at a time I dreamt about a church and going to that particular church? I dreamt about going to hell.
No.
And that the last time I went to that church was right before I had that dream. So I have not been to that church since having that dream decades ago. I don't even know if the church is still open.
Wow.
But all the ways in which we receive that self-awareness and being like, we ignore gut feelings, and then it's like, oh man, I knew years ago that was going to happen. Being in tune, right? Something hurting is different than a growth push and hurt, right? It's not the same. Do not go in this direction. And this is new. This is uncomfortable are two different types but we group that as pain or we group that as discomfort, but it's discomfort for different reasons. So Okay.
Yeah.
So I love you.
I love you.
And that's it. Are you ready? Are you ready to speak life? Are you ready to take these incremental steps and make larger, more impactful steps? If so, you know where to go. You know who to look up. You know how to make it happen. Detra, you are incredible. Thank you so much for spending time with us, for sharing your journey, but also giving us tools that we can use and take away, and I think easily incorporate into our lives. And for me, that was my really greatest desire for having you on the podcast, is because you're able to see things from a perspective of someone that has many roles in life, someone that has their own struggles, right? But also as someone who has begun to put the pieces together for themselves and works the work, and in turn is able to help others do the same. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Until the next time, I encourage you to simply be the light. We are still talking movement in this season, what it looks like for you in the various ways that movement moves. Like, subscribe, and share. If you are getting something out of the Healthy Illness Podcast, please let somebody else get something out of it too. Let a friend know. And let me know. You can reach out to me at Kelly Marie at frontseatlife.com, or on IG, Facebook. The Front Seat Life is where you can find me in those two places. And I encourage you to, in this Mental Health Awareness Month, to be aware, right? Begin to deepen your understanding around your mental health, the mental health of your family, the mental health of your communities, and where we all intersect on this journey together. So thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me know that you are listening. And I would love to hear from you. So let me know what is happening with you and how you are incorporating the tools to be healthier mentally. I want to hear from you. So until the next time, I am Kelly Marie, your host of the Healthy Illness Podcast, a part of the Jazzcast Pros Network. Be the light.